Hello there. Welcome back to the Scaling Deep podcast. This is Lisa Princik, your host. I am a membership expert and business strategist, and I am answering the question today, can anyone really scale their business with a membership? Can anyone start one and be successful? And I know that's a really big question that, of course, you're going to hear from all the marketers that, of course, you can do it. But then you're also probably skeptical and wondering why 99% of the people in those big, massive group programs that you may have been part of haven't done it and are still working on it year after year after year. Because it's not just that simple. Of course, anyone can do it, but not everyone will do it. And I want to help clear this out for you so that you can make a good decision about your readiness for it. And also recognize that your clarity and objectivity are going to make a big difference in whether or not you can follow this path and be successful. In my membership recently, I asked a question, which was, what are your biggest fears about running your business? And I couldn't believe how many responses I got to it. It was pretty interesting because, of course, we all have fears, right? It's a big deal putting ourselves out there in all the bazillion ways that we have to when we're running this kind of program and we're asking for the sale and we're trying to get visibility and we're working with people and they're trusting us to get them somewhere. So it brings up a lot of our stuff, a lot. And one of the answers was really interesting for me because she said that her biggest fear was that she's put in all kinds of work, all kinds of time, work on sales and marketing, work to deliver to people and provide contents for them, as well as money that she's invested in all kinds of support and programs to help her figure out how to do things and what to do and all that stuff. And she's worried that it won't pay off. And I was like, wow, I totally get that because I felt that for most of my business journey until probably a couple of years ago. And because I was in that headspace for so long, I thought, well, I want to think and talk about what that great divide is from feeling like you're not sure it will to just being like, oh, it can, but I just have to do the things. And that was a real turning point for me when I moved from one side to the other, because the other side was a little bit more externally focused. I would feel a little bit like, am I going to get a break? How do I create the opportunity to get in front of big audiences or get shout outs or come across a good idea or some kind of small product that can go ballistic on Facebook ads and start making some money so I could grow my list easily. And there's all these things that I used to think had to happen in order for success to come. And then when I started to get really super real and really determined to be like, no, I'm going to just do whatever it takes. Like when I just decided to take that leap of faith to say, if I can just believe that what I know and what I do is good enough, then I can probably figure this out. And that's when I started to get real help and real support from more successful people than I was to see behind the scenes of it in a little bit more of a truthful way than, say, a big mass marketer way, and figure out how to make this happen, right? Because now I firmly believe that anyone can succeed with a membership, but and this is what we're going to talk about today, some of the buts, because there are certain things you have to have in place, because even if luck was to strike and you got a giant shout out or something went viral or all that, you would still have to have the things in place to make it actually work, and not just work once because you got so much, say, traffic that even if you converted a teeny microscopic amount, it would actually be sustainable, because you don't want to get a huge shout out and have it work only because the volume was so high. You want to be able to convert at more reasonable numbers. So that's getting into kind of more detail. I want to say that I'm probably a little biased because the kind of people who are working with me, and I've worked with a ton of people over 10 plus years in business strategy specifically, and memberships in the last 4 or 5. I've come across a ton of people who all have excellent ideas and even better skills, right? And all these people I've looked at and talked to and been like, there's no reason that you are any different from your 6-figure and 7-figure colleagues or competitors, say, because they have had such a great skill set. And most of us are those people. And the reason why we're not scaling and growing that way and increasing the revenue when we're at that phase is because we're just not doing the things that it takes. And that is a learning curve, right? So how do you know that you're in a place to even start being successful and that you can trust that it will pay off? Well, you have to have something you're really passionate about. And I'm going to come full circle on this in a minute, but passionate enough that you can talk about it a lot and you've seen the results so that you believe in them, because I'm not talking to the people out there who don't believe in their results. I know that you're probably a person who believes in them, or else you probably wouldn't be hanging out with me because I'm pretty honest and direct about it. And I I don't believe in selling BS to people and just hoping that you can get in front of enough people in the world that it doesn't really matter if people get results. I really believe that brands that stand the test of the long run are really passionate about getting results for their people. And that's number one. So how do you know that your idea is good? Well, you've done the work with people and you've gotten them results. And maybe you've done it in a professional circumstance. Maybe you haven't even done it as an entrepreneur, but that's okay because you know that the system works, you know that the work works, and you know that it can get people somewhere. Maybe you've been your own before and after story and you've done the thing and now you want to share it with other people. So that is enough of a validated idea to know that your idea is good enough. All right. And so again, when I talk to people at this phase where they're seriously considering a membership, most of you already know that it works. And that's not the issue. Okay. Secondly, you may have talked to a lot of people, like loads of people, about your idea and the results or the business idea. And they're excited about it. They're hungry for it. Now, I'm not talking about your, best friends, supportive partners that say that's nice, dear. I'm talking about talking it out in the world. Maybe it's at a networking meeting. Maybe it's at a on the street survey or in a dinner party conversation or anything like that, or just calling up your clients, your past clients, and objectively asking them what they think of this kind of result and what it means to them and what it's worth to them, and getting a sense of that without leading them too much. And that's going to help you really gel your idea and just get clear that it is important. So this could be that you're earlier on in your career and you think you are onto something. You don't have to have 100 proven results. You don't have to have millions of people that have done this thing. You can just know that it's something. It could be emerging research or protocols or practices that you know of making a difference. It could be something you've figured out. So I'm not talking always about innovation. You don't have to be the first and the only, because that's very rare. I mean, most of us do not have giant research budgets that we're doing research and independent studies on the thing. We are trial and error, and that's how we come up with our system. Okay. And then finally, the last way is that you just see other people do it. Like, let's face it, if there's health coaches out there, you probably could be a health coach. If there are therapists out there doing this thing, you could probably be doing that. If you've been training people in music or in sports or whatever, or seen other people do it, you know that it's probably a thing. And I just have to say that there's just never too many people in the market. And that was one of my big excuses for a long time, is that everyone's in this. And I just wish that I had a more unique idea. But you know what? It doesn't require you to be an innovator, or like an inventor to do this. You just have to craft out your own way of doing it and be able to communicate it well. So I'll talk about that next. So basically, all I'm saying is that your idea is probably good enough. Now, the difference comes with not from our skills and not from being the best or the only. The difference comes in our ability to communicate our unique value to the world so that we can create a connection to people. So if you've got any friends or any family that you hang out with, or partners or past relationships, or you name it, you probably know how to create a connection with another person. And you have probably lined up with the kinds of friends or colleagues or family members who you happen to have a better alignment with on some things. And those are the people who you're going to have a greater connection with. So that's why, if you've got a personality, and I know you do, you are going to have a connection with someone over someone else. And that means a bunch of people are going to find the way you're saying it, the way you're doing it, the way you've come from it and are approaching it, the story you have behind it, more relatable, more interesting, more values aligned than other people who they could buy from. There are tons of people selling the same thing out there. There are so many people. When someone says to me, have you heard of so-and-so? I'm like, no. And I think I know everyone in an industry. And yet I see like 10 new ones pop out. It doesn't take long for you to see how many people out there are doing what you do. And it actually doesn't matter because we're in a giant market now. Like it's giant. It's like billions of dollars. Well, yeah, it's actually there. It's almost there. It's almost at billions, this online industry. And it means that it's full of people, and it's just a matter of people coming across you at the right time, at the right place, and not necessarily looking at 5 other options. So I tell some of my clients and members, it's not that you have to compete with anyone, because if someone is just in their home thinking about something, and say they come across a Facebook ad or a reel or a podcast on the topic that they're interested in, that you're talking about, they may have not gone out there and researched 5 other people to hire. I mean, most of the people who hire me especially for my VIP coaching, just look for it, check me out, and go, wow, she's talking to me. Let's set up a meeting and make sure we're a fit. There are a few who go and do their due diligence, but it's interesting because I think most people who do that actually know who they want to hire before they even do. And they're just vetting it, right? They're just making sure that they're not making a mistake, but they kind of know what they want. And that's usually based on someone who they can get to know because they've seen their podcast, they've watched their social media, they've checked out their website, they've read their copy. And so they have a pretty good feel for somebody. So you don't have to be the one and only. You just have to be relatable, and you have to be different. And that's what comes across in your sales assets. And that's where people aren't doing a good enough job. So that's the other big thing I see people do, is just not learn how to communicate it properly in their on their sales page, in their trainings and freebies and all the things that they create, say it's in a launch or even before launching, is they create that to get people to know who they are and how they think and what they're like, so that they feel like, oh, I could really learn from this person. If you're not creating something that's really well done, you're probably conveying a lot of the wrong information. I mean, I know that it's hard to learn this stuff if you don't know sales and marketing really well and you haven't done it for a long time. I've always felt very comfortable in sales, like one-on-one sales, because I'm just like good at helping people diagnose their real problem, and I either can help them or I can't. So it's pretty simple. But when you're doing one-to-many, you've got to do it in ways that you didn't even know exist. So you've got to start to learn that, and that is going to make a massive difference. And that actually is what makes the biggest difference. So everyone thinks it's visibility. And it's like, everyone knows about me, but it's actually not. Visibility comes when people feel confident enough that they can create a connection and people will choose them and will buy from them. And that's when they go out and do their big visibility thing. And that's what I'm doing more of this year, because in the past, I've been more trying to figure out, how do I communicate well enough to people so that they will come in the door in the first place to say, yeah, sure, I'll try you out, and then get to know me and be like, yeah, this is going to work. And so that's going to come across in your sales assets. And that's super important. So it's going to take some time, and it's going to be a learning curve, and it's going to be painful at times, but it's going to make a big difference, because right now in the economy, it's still going great, but it's just not going like bonkers or being silly. Like, people just are not throwing money at things, and they're not doing it on a high. But what that will do, it will settle out for people to really spend on things that they value and can trust and get something out of. And that's why all you have to do is believe in yourself, believe in your value, and then circle around to bringing it out there in a really strong way. And the good news about that is that you don't have to do it over and over again. You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. And this is why I tell all my members, work on getting better and better at your things that you're putting in front of people. Don't keep trying them and starting over with new ideas and new topics and new everything. Just get really good at the few things that you have out there, because there's millions of people you can get it in front of. So you don't have to worry about ever like saturating your crowd, because your crowd is ever evolving and expanding and changing. It's never going to be the same people year after year on your list. It'll always evolve. It'll always go in rotation. So yes, if you're willing to do that work, you can do it. You will be able to sell this and you'll surprise yourself. You will find yourself like me on the other end of that journey where you're like, yeah, I know what I've got is good. And the nice thing about that is when you start to get more people that you're working with in that way, and they're buying from you without having the conversation, and then they're joining your programs, they're getting in them and they're loving the work, and they give you that feedback, then you're like, yes, I should be doing this because I know how valuable it is. And I want to get in front of more people. And then that helps you get over that resistance or fear of the more visibility, because you really start to believe in yourself. And you're going to need those clients. You're going to need selling in that one-to-many way in order to start believing more in yourself. I mean, some people might not, but a lot of people do. So that's a really great circular system to being able to reinforce that practice and process of growing and getting out there. And then finally, I just want to say that it probably requires some guidance, because if you are the master of your craft or your trade, you're likely not going to be the master of sales and marketing. And even if you're really good at sales and marketing, you've probably got to get better at it. So that's where you need a coach. That's where you need a mentor or a guide. And I really highly recommend getting somebody who you can trust to help you and being pretty critical of that. So if you already are in a coaching relationship or a supporter, having a supporter, and it's not really working and you're not really having epiphanies, or it's not really getting you into action with more strength, then reconsider that and look elsewhere, because it's so important that you are inspired to do things in a better way and more confidently and getting real shortcuts to doing it. And that's how you're going to do this, right? That's how you're going to do it. So it's going to require investment, because it takes money to make good money. If you're making money in a really good way, you've put the time in and the effort, and you can streamline that by getting the proper support. So that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. And actually tomorrow I have my final in a very, very long time, like maybe, who knows, maybe 6 months, maybe a year longer, my membership method workshop, which we're going to talk all about positioning, some sales strategies, content for your membership. And then there's a 30-minute Q&A where you can ask me any question about your current membership or your membership idea, and we can help you work that out. It's a really good opportunity. It's only $37. And I tell you, that's going to shortcut your time so much to actually figuring out what's right for you going forward and how you can make a bigger tent in this game that you're in. Because, you know, if you aren't growing, it gets a little stale and it gets a bit frustrating. And I just want you to feel the success to move forward, not necessarily with a hustle or a burnout, but just with conviction and consistent action that's going to really make a difference. All right. So I'm 100% rooting for you. I know you can do this. I know you've probably got an amazing idea that you just need to work out. And you can always find me and seek me out to help you with that, because that is something I do really well and I love it. So I'm always there for you. I hope to see you inside the membership method workshop tomorrow. You can find that at scalingdeep.com/method. Thanks for being here with me today. Have an awesome week. Bye for now.